So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us on Candid Coffee with Cameron Clark today. Now, I'm really excited. Of course, I'm your host, Arvashni Seeripat, and I'm so excited to interview Cam. And let me tell you why I'm so excited to interview Cam today. Because not only is he a talented and very accomplished aerospace engineer, I've come to know the person who is an incredible father. And just sharing a quick anecdote with everyone on the who's listening to this podcast, how often Cam would get onto a call early in the morning, but be clear that his key priority is to make sure that his children are well taken care of and sorted. And for me, that is such an incredible thing to see and to watch. So, an immense father, as I said, with Cam, a community leader. That also comes through very clear on how much Cam gives back to his own community. And we'll learn a little bit about Cam and his community work as well as we go through the podcast. One thing I've come to learn about Cameron, or Cam, as we affectionately refer to him as, is that Cam is definitely a leader that leads through action, but leads through humility. And that makes him so inspiring, which is why we couldn't have another Candid Coffee without having Cameron Clark with us. So Cameron, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Arvashni, for that amazing intro, and thank you for having me. I'm at a loss for words. I have a lot to live up to now.
Don't worry, Cam. We have 30 minutes to find the words. So listeners, you've joined us on the previous couple of podcasts that we have. And you know that our journey is really to get to know these incredible individuals like Cameron in front of us. And not only to understand their journey and what made them really think about board service, looking to improve their industries, looking to improve their communities, but allowing us to understand deeper the person behind the board position that we see. And that allows us to tease out as well what makes him or her successful, in this instance, Cam, and you and I thinking about how could we be and how could we aspire to these board positions that folks like Cam hold. So Cam, as I said, excited to have you today on the podcast. And, when I went through your resume and I went through, of course, our preparation, I was again struck by what an immense career you have. So I was wondering if you could share with our listeners today a couple of highlights of your career and take us through your journey.
Sure. Wow. Where to begin? And where to go. There's so much I could do with that. But let me just restate, as you stated, I'm an aerospace engineer. I've been in that industry for 20 some odd years now. I didn't grow up aspiring to be an aerospace engineer. It would all begin for me when I always knew that I was good at math and science, so I figured I would always do something with that. And then I stumbled upon a pamphlet that went across, covered over engineering, and I figured, that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be an engineer. And what struck me about it was that I learned that engineers design planes. I was like, oh, that's cool, because my family would often take summer vacations, and we'd often sit on the wing of the plane, and I would just watch the ailerons flap up and down for the entire trip. So I said, I'm going to design planes. So that's how I moved forward as a teenager, going into college. My family, we must have visited 20 schools, right? And they were all, engineering focused for the most part. And I narrowed it down to my top three and ended up getting into one of them. And so I studied aerospace engineering at Georgia Tech. I was there 5 years. I don't normally tell people this, but now I'm telling the world, apparently. I was there 5 years and I was kicked out twice. And I ended up going back home. I didn't graduate from Georgia Tech. I went back home to New York and finished up at City College, New York. And I'm very, very grateful for that experience. But anyways, I did a bunch of schooling and then eventually I was part of a National Society of Black Engineers. It's a student-run organization, and they have an annual conference in a different location or a different state, really, every year, and where you not only come together to like be among your fellow Black engineers, but corporations come and they recruit. And so I ended up landing a couple of job offers. I actually had a job offer before going to the conference, and I was going to put me in the submarine business, and I didn't want to do that. So I went to the conference and ended up getting two job offers with the same employer, but they didn't know that. I had a separate offer in different sites. One was for commercial airplanes, and the other one was for satellites. And I could take you through my thought process on that, but I ended up choosing satellites, and that ended up shifting my focus to space. So I never really designed an airplane. I came, somewhat close. We can talk about that if you want. But so I spent several years with that employer. Ended up getting laid off after like 7.5, some odd years, right around Thanksgiving. So it was a real bummer for me. And then because I was highly specialized, I was working as something known as a thermal engineer. Um, it was really difficult for me to find another position, and it almost took me a full year to land my next job. And I did it again through the National Society of Black Engineers. They had another conference for professionals. It was local to me, so it was easy to get to, especially when I was low on money at that time, right? Because I wasn't working. And I so no one has ever admitted this to me, but I credit my next role with a chance meeting with an executive at the company. And then after I spoke with him at that conference, I ended up getting an interview and job and so on and so forth. I'm doing the same thing I was before. And then I wanted to broaden my aperture to something called systems engineering. So I was a thermal systems engineer. I wanted to go more general and learn more about not only the systems we were building, but how it fit into the business, and ended up jumping to another company. Um, Fast forward a few more years, I'm currently with Millennium Space Systems, which is a Boeing company, working as a principal systems engineer. And I'm serving as a chief engineer for a couple of programs. So they build small satellites. Most of my career has been devoted to building very large, think school bus, truck size satellites. Now we build things that are on the order of like a small fridge that you would put in your dorm room.
Wow. Cam, I can't even begin to fit all of that into my head at the moment, right? The scope of work that you've been exposed to, but that you've done. But also, as you've shared your journey, I think a couple of things just struck me as you were speaking. Of course, I had to chuckle when you said, I'll go into aerospace engineering. That's cool. Like it's like so easy to do, but clearly I love the attitude that you have. You said, I'll go design planes. And that's the Cam I know, right? The very can-do attitude, as in make it happen. So that struck me when you spoke. Also, what struck me is perseverance, right? Getting kicked out of university twice. I don't know where to put that, badge of honor or not, right? But seriously, Cole, in the sense that you persevered through, and look where you are today, even through all of the different hurdles that you faced. So Cam, I love hearing about your perseverance, your can-do attitude. That is amazing, and clearly it has manifested in where you are today. But so I'm going to switch a little bit, Cam, right? I mean, your career is absolutely fascinating, but I think as fascinating is also just learning about you. So I wonder if you could share with us, myself and the listeners, what makes Cameron, right? What is about it? Is it about you that makes you uniquely you? Share with us.
That's a very interesting question, something I've been pondering myself. Maybe it's because of our friendship and the questions you've posed over the course of that time. And I've been thinking to myself, should I go talk to someone to figure that out? But I haven't done that, and I probably never will. So it's on me to think about, right? I it's one of the things you said in your response to what my career journey struck me in that, I didn't think twice about going into aerospace engineering or building planes, even though I never had an example of someone doing that. I just knew it was something that was done. I had no way of getting in touch with anyone who was remotely close to that, and I just did that. And I don't know why that was. I think, my parents, at that stage really didn't put restrictions on me, right? They were very much, we have to go out and achieve, and education was really important to them, and exposure was really important to them. So they would take me to museums. My mother would take me to work. Um, you know, we would go explore the different cities that we went to across the country. My father was a big history buff, so every time we traveled somewhere, he had to find like a war museum to explore. Um, so I think that maybe where it came from. No one ever told me that I couldn't do something. I should say, no one within my family told me that I couldn't do something. And so that was a very safe space for me, and I think that's where it came from. And so, that on top of their desire to have a strong nuclear family, but not absent of the broader family, that shaped my views on family and the importance of it. So I think that's where it starts.
I love that, Cam. And, something you said now struck me as well. No one in your family said no, you couldn't, right? And a mentor of mine shared with me a couple of months ago how our family backgrounds shape how we think, right? And she had said to me, in the context of board positions, right? Because we all question sometimes, could I make a difference on a board, right? What do I have to offer to a board role? And she had said to me, when we are growing up, most of us in our families are told no job is too small for us to do, right? We are told that. And on surface, that is really cool because roll up your sleeves and get the work done, right?
Right.
But what they fail to tell us on the flip end is no job is too big for us either, right? So we're getting one side of the equation and we are not getting the other side. And so when we think about board positions as well and board service, no job is actually too big for us. We can do this. And with that, I invite you to share with me something exciting has been happening with you in the last couple of weeks, right? We've all seen the LinkedIn updates. To share with us your latest board position and the journey that you embarked upon.
Well, to spill the tea, as they say in my culture, I just obtained my first advisory position for a startup. She is, embarking upon. She already has a line of products, and she wants to grow that business. It's in the healthcare space. And so, after a round of conversations with the founder, she decided to invite me onto the board to help her grow her vision.
That is wonderful, and congratulations.
Thank you.
That is amazing. Tell us, and Cam, have you had any board meetings yet?
We have not. We have been in a lot of conversation about that and what we want to accomplish, but we will get one on the books very soon.
Amazing. So, Cam, tell me now that you're going to embark upon this board service journey as well. What does board service mean to you?
That's an interesting question. It could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people, and most of that would be correct, right? But for me, my perspective on boards, especially boards on publicly listed companies that have a large impact. It's not to negate the impact that small companies or startups will have, but my view is that boards have the power to shape the society that we want. And that's because they help make decisions that get trickled down into companies. They are leading from a very high position. And I've always believed and seen that whatever the leader thinks, and typically people attribute that to the CEO, but the CEO reports to the board, right?
Right.
Um, whatever that leadership team thinks or believes in is going to show up in the culture of the company and
Mm,
the things that they do, right? So if you're in that very high position, i.e. board director, then you have the opportunity to shape how a company behaves, thinks, acts. And who works in companies? People, right?
mm,
People work in companies, right? And they are going to soak up all of that energy, if you will. And they're not going to leave that in the vacuum of the company. They have to go home to their loved ones, and their communities. So they're going to take what they are feeling from that 9 to 5, if you will. Many
mm,
people spend more hours than that, back home, um, and it's going to have a multiplier effect. Um, so that's why um, board leadership, board positions, boards in general are important to me.
mm. You, I mean, you've clearly thought deeply about it, right, in terms of what service means for you as well. And it just strikes me as you were speaking how, we started this conversation also saying that you are an incredible community leader. You involve yourself in your community as well. Your community is really important to you. Um, and in how you shared what you think about board service, I'm hearing so much about impact on community as well, right? People around you, culture, building and making sure that people, both the company prospers, the individuals within the company prosper, as well as the broader community prospers, right? So I love listening to you speak to that, Cam, and I definitely see it reflected even in all the conversations that we've had over the period of time as well. So it's amazing to hear. It is amazing to hear. I'm going to shift gears a little bit again, Cam, right? So the journey to get on a board position for some may come really easily, for others may take longer to get
Mhm.
there. Um, Tell us about your journey on the Veblen development program, and tell us about how that has enabled you in any way to actually create or access this advisory board position.
Well, the journey on the Veblen Director Program has been nothing short of amazing. I had no idea what I was getting into. Sounded like a great idea. Um, it was a low enough bar for me to jump into. Um,
Cam, I'm going to interrupt you. That sounds like that's cool. I'll do that.
yeah, exactly. I mean, kind of. So, and I mean, and I board being a board director was always something I envisioned myself growing into. So the premise of Veblen, for our listeners, is that you can obtain a board position where you are right now. And
Right.
I'd always thought that it would be 20 years down the line. I had, X number of CXO positions, right? I'm dreaming, right? I'm not there yet, but and then you get the call to join a board. And even if you do go down that path of achieving those CXO positions, it still isn't simple to get a board seat, right? Um, it's easier probably because you have um, more connections probably to people who are on boards, but it's still not that simple, right? So the premise appealed to me, and so I jumped in, kind of eyes wide open, kind of not, and you start meeting all these people from all over the world, and from all these different backgrounds. And you're having conversations with them as though they're your next door neighbor, or you went to work or school with them. And for the most part, you really haven't been in physical space with them.
Right.
And that's kind of cool, to be able to experience that. And then I know I'm not describing anything new. People have been doing this on the internet for many years now, but it's my first foray into that, and really building meaningful connections.
Mm,
Um, so that has been a joy for me. Um, And I talk to my wife, and and we talk about some of the things that I'm doing, and how, people who are, within our physical space may not be on that same path, or I can't have these conversations with them. And I said, well, my friends in Veblen, friends, people, understand I'm calling them friends, and I truly feel that they are friends, even though I haven't met them, or I can have these conversations. So that's been the most rewarding portion of Veblen to me. But getting more tactical, again, you have these friendships, and you're not just having casual conversations. You're talking about how you can move one another along the journey of obtaining a board seat, right? And um, you're starting small, right? It seems like a very gargantuan task, even within the program, because a lot of the work is on you as a person. But you're reaching out to your existing network, you're building a new network, you're letting people know that this is something that you're interested in. You're building your profile, which is very challenging for most people, including me. Um, and especially now, given the time constraints. But you're doing all these different things, and you're growing different muscles, and they may not seem like they're connected at any given time, because you're like, I want a board seat now, and I want it now. Give it to me now, right? I'm doing all these different things, and when's it going to happen? But I liken it to finding a job, right? Like your next level job, right? You can polish off your resume, you obtain new skills, maybe even a new degree. And oftentimes we think, if I just do this one thing that I can add to my resume, then I'll get the job. But it doesn't work that way, right? Um, it's it's a it's a melting pot of chance collisions, um,
Mm.
and so you just keep grinding away, until something happens. And when it does, it seems like it happened quickly.
That's true. Sometimes, in the moment when people talk about instant success, that's amazing. Someone's instantly a success, but you don't realize the 20 years of hard work that came behind that to
Right.
make that one moment an instant success, right? So, Cam, I heard a couple of things from you. I heard celebrate small starts, right? And focus on small starts because it actually matters. I heard from you, even if you don't think so, elevate your profile, right? And I love what you said as well. It's hard to find the time. And sometimes it's not just about time, it's about our own emotion to put ourselves out there, right? But what do you have to overcome? And I mean, we've been on this journey together. It's not just the physical action of creating your profile. It's the emotional journey of recognizing that others are going to see who you are. And
Right.
that is interesting, right, in itself. And another deeper conversation around that, Cam, right, that we can have. And the third one that I heard from you is build relevant skills. And Vibrant Community helps you build those relevant skills that you need. Does that resonate with you? Just
No, you're hitting the nails on the head.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, cool. So, Cam, I loved listening to you today. I mean, your journey is incredible, and your commitment to your family, to your work, to the work that you do, to your
Mhm.
community is exemplar. Really is. It's really incredible, and it's inspiring to watch. So, for our listeners today, if you had to share any pearls of wisdom, anything that you think you must share with our listeners, what would it be?
Great question. I think so. There are a lot of limitations, I should say, perceived limitations in this world of, you know, um, there can be people against you, forces against you, laws against you, whatever the case may be. Time is against you. Well, time is against us all. I would say the biggest limitation for anyone is yourself, whether or not you believe you can achieve something. And it's not just the belief aspect of it, because once you have that, that's just, you're just on the starting block, right? All right, I believe. It's what you do after that, right? You have to run the race, and the race is yours. You're not running against anyone else. And so you have to just keep putting one foot in front of the next, hoping that you're going forward to the finish line. And sometimes you may take a step or two back, or something doesn't pan out the way you hoped it would, but you just keep going forward, right? This race isn't a straight line. So believe, and take action, persevere, and be patient.
Be patient. I like that. And Cam, that's a very hard one for most of us, right? To be patient, to do the work and wait for it to materialize. But Cam, on this journey, on this last, 25, 30 odd minutes that we've spoken together, the words perseverance come up very strongly, as you've mentioned as well. The take action very clearly. That's cool. Let's do it. Right. Stands out as well for me. I love what you just said about remove your own self-limitations. Those are self-imposed, not society imposed as well. Society is going to impose a lot of limitations on us anyway, right? Why add more
Right.
to that part? And be patient. Cam, it's really been a fascinating journey, delving deeper into the life of Cameron. I know we've just scratched the surface, because we will continue to see amazing things come from you as well. And I really do appreciate you sharing your time with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I must admit, I feel exposed, but I'm comfortable talking to you, Arvashni. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Cam. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us today on Candid Coffee with Cameron Clark. As we saw, Cam is an amazing individual. And over the next couple of weeks, you are going to listen to as amazing individuals as Cam is. And I think that's the benefit of the Veblen community as well. As Cam mentioned, you get to experience individuals from around the globe, individuals that sit outside our industries, individuals that stretch our minds, and individuals that stretch our hearts. So thank you all so much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you and hearing you at our next Candid Coffee. So we look forward to that. Take care. Bye.